My name is Gail, and I am 63 years old. I raised my son alone for 30 years after my husband died. I worked 2 jobs. I skipped meals. I gave him everything I had. I always believed that a mother's love was unbreakable, that no matter what happened, my child would never turn his back on me. Then one Saturday morning, my son looked me straight in the eyes and said, "We don't have room for you." I had no idea that sentence would change everything. Before I share what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if stories like this one speak to your heart, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. What I did the very next morning shocked everyone, including myself. Trust me, you will want to hear how this unfolds. Now let me take you back to where it all began. To understand why those words cut so deep, I need to tell you about the life I built and the sacrifices I made for my son Derek. My husband Harold was a good man. He worked at a construction company doing long hours of hard labor to provide for our little family. We were not rich, but we were happy. We had a small apartment in Ohio, a used car that broke down every other month, and a son who was the light of our lives. Derek was 7 years old when everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. The leaves had just started turning orange and red. I was at home making dinner when 2 men in suits knocked on my door. They told me there had been an accident at the construction site. A beam had fallen. Harold did not survive. I remember standing in the doorway holding a wooden spoon, feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. Derek was in the living room watching cartoons. He had no idea that his father was never coming home. The funeral cost more than we had saved. I had to borrow money from my sister, from neighbors, from anyone who would help. After the burial, I sat down at the kitchen table and counted what was left. $87. That was all I had to raise my son. I was 33 years old, a widow with a 7-year-old boy and no college degree. But I refused to let Derek grow up in poverty. I refused to let him feel the absence of his father in every empty plate and worn-out shoe. So I got to work. I found a job as a secretary at a law firm downtown. The pay was modest, but it was steady. I answered phones, filed paperwork, and typed letters for 8 hours a day. Then I came home, made dinner for Derek, helped him with his homework, and put him to bed. But one job was not enough. The bills kept piling up: rent, utilities, groceries, school supplies. So I took a second job as a cashier at a convenience store 3 nights a week. I worked from 9 in the evening until 2 in the morning, then came home and slept for 4 hours before starting all over again. For years, this was my life. Wake up at 5, make breakfast for Derek, pack his lunch, walk him to school, go to work, come home, cook dinner, help with homework, go to my second job, sleep, repeat. I did not have time for friends. I did not have time for hobbies. I did not have time to grieve my husband properly. Every minute of every day was dedicated to one thing: giving Derek a better life. There were nights when I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open at the cash register. There were mornings when I woke up and forgot where I was. But every time I felt like giving up, I would look at Derek sleeping peacefully in his bed, and I would find the strength to keep going. I never remarried. It was not because I did not want companionship. It was because I could not imagine dividing my attention between a new relationship and my son. Derek needed me fully. He needed to know that even though his father was gone, his mother would always be there. When Derek was in high school, he started excelling in his classes. He was smart, motivated, and determined to succeed. I was so proud of him. All those years of sacrifice were paying off. He graduated with honors and got a scholarship to a state university. I remember the day he left for college. I stood in the parking lot of his dormitory, watching him carry boxes into his new room. He turned around, saw me crying, and ran back to give me a hug. "I'm going to make you proud, Mom," he said. "You already have," I told him. Those 4 years went by quickly. Derek studied business, got good grades, and landed an internship at a marketing firm. After graduation, they offered him a full-time position. He was on his way. When Derek was 28 years old, he came to me with a dream. He wanted to buy a house. He was tired of renting apartments and wanted something that was truly his. But there was a problem. His credit score was too low. During college, he had racked up some credit card debt, and it was still affecting his numbers. "Mom, I found the perfect house," he told me over dinner one night. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a nice backyard. It's in a good neighborhood with good schools. But the bank won't approve my loan. I looked at my son at the hope in his eyes, and I knew what I had to do. Over the past 30 years, I had managed to save money. It was not easy. I clipped coupons, bought clothes from thrift stores, and never took a vacation. But slowly, dollar by dollar, I had built a nest egg of $120,000. It was supposed to be my retirement fund, my safety net for old age. I gave it all to Derek. "Use this for the down payment," I said, handing him a check. "And since your credit isn't good enough, I'll co-sign the loan. We'll put the house in my name for now, and when your credit improves, we'll transfer it to you." Derek hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Thank you, Mom. I promise I'll pay you back. I promise I'll take care of you when you're old." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my son, my flesh and blood, the boy I had sacrificed everything for. The house was purchased. My name went on the deed. My name went on the mortgage. Derek moved in and started making the monthly payments. Everything seemed perfect. 2 years later, Derek met Stephanie. She was a colleague at his marketing firm, tall blonde with sharp features and an even sharper tongue. From the first moment I met her, something felt off. She looked at me the way someone looks at an old piece of furniture that doesn't match the decor. During our first dinner together, she barely spoke to me. She talked to Derek about work, about their friends, about restaurants I had never heard of. When I tried to join the conversation, she smiled politely and changed the subject. After dinner, I pulled Derek aside. "She seems nice," I said, choosing my words carefully. "But does she know about your family? About me?" Derek laughed. "Of course, Mom. She knows everything. She's just shy around new people." I wanted to believe him, so I did. 6 months later, they were engaged. The wedding was beautiful and expensive. I contributed most of the cost because Stephanie's family, despite being comfortably middle class, claimed they were saving for retirement. Derek did not question it. Neither did I at the time. After the wedding, things changed. Derek called less often. When I visited, Stephanie always had somewhere else to be. The warmth that used to fill our relationship began to cool, degree by degree, until I barely recognized my own son. But I told myself it was normal. Newlyweds need space. They need time to build their own life. I was still his mother. That would never change. I had no idea how wrong I was. 5 years after the wedding, my life took an unexpected turn. I was 62 years old, still living in a small rented apartment on the east side of town. My body was not what it used to be. Decades of working 2 jobs had taken their toll. My knees ached constantly. My back gave me trouble if I stood too long. But I managed. I had always managed. Then one rainy evening in March, I slipped on the stairs outside my apartment building. I reached for the railing, but my fingers could not grip it in time. I tumbled down 7 steps and landed hard on the concrete. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. I could not move my right leg. I could not stand up. I lay there in the rain calling for help until a neighbor finally heard me and called an ambulance. At the hospital, the doctor delivered the news. I had fractured my hip. I would need surgery followed by months of physical therapy, and I could not live alone during recovery. "Do you have family who can help?" the doctor asked. I thought of Derek, my only child, the son I had given everything for. "Yes," I said, "I have family." I called Derek from my hospital bed. My voice was shaky, partly from pain, and partly from something I did not want to admit, fear. Fear that he would say no. But he didn't, at least not at first. "Mom, of course you can stay with us," Derek said. "We have the guest room on the first floor. You won't have to climb any stairs. Stephanie and I will take care of you." Relief washed over me. "Thank you, sweetheart. I promise I won't be a burden. As soon as I'm better, I'll go back to my apartment." "Don't worry about that," he said. "Just focus on getting well." 2 weeks after my surgery, Derek picked me up from the hospital. I sat in the passenger seat of his car, watching the familiar streets pass by, feeling a mixture of gratitude and anxiety. I had not stayed with Derek since he got married. I did not know what to expect. The house looked different from the last time I visited. Stephanie had redecorated. The warm, earthy tones I remembered had been replaced with cold grays and whites. It looked like something from a magazine, beautiful but sterile. Derek carried my suitcase inside while I hobbled on my crutches. Stephanie stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, watching. "Hello, Stephanie," I said, trying to smile. "Thank you for letting me stay." She nodded once. "The guest room is down the hall. Derek will show you." That was it. No hug, no warm welcome, just a nod and directions. The guest room was small but clean. A single bed, a nightstand, a lamp, a window overlooking the backyard. I told myself it was enough. I was lucky to have somewhere to go. The first few days were difficult. I was in constant pain and moving around was exhausting. But I tried to make myself useful. I could not stand for long periods, but I could sit at the kitchen table and fold laundry. I could peel vegetables. I could read stories to my grandchildren. Yes, grandchildren. Emma and Lucas. They were the brightest spots in that house. Emma was 7 with brown curly hair and her father's curious eyes. Lucas was 4, a whirlwind of energy who never stopped moving. From the moment I arrived, they attached themselves to me like little magnets. "Grandma, tell us a story," Emma would say every night before bed. "Grandma, look at my drawing," Lucas would shout, holding up a crayon masterpiece. I loved every moment with them. For the first time in years, I felt truly needed. Not just as a source of money or labor, but as a grandmother, as family. But Stephanie did not share their enthusiasm. She started making small comments. Nothing overtly hostile, but pointed enough to sting. "You don't need to cook, Gail. I can order takeout. Please don't reorganize the pantry. I have a system. The children have a bedtime routine. Too many stories will overstimulate them." I tried to adjust. I stopped cooking. I stopped organizing. I limited my stories to 1 per night. But it was never enough. Every day brought a new complaint. One evening, about a month after I arrived, I overheard Stephanie talking to Derek in their bedroom. Their door was slightly open, and their voices carried down the hall. "When is she going to leave?" Stephanie said. "This is our house. I feel like I can't do anything without her watching." "She's recovering from surgery," Derek replied. "Give her time." "It's been a month, Derek. How much more time does she need?" I did not hear his response. I quietly retreated to my room and closed the door. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it was being squeezed. I told myself it was temporary. Stephanie was stressed. Once I was better and out of their way, everything would go back to normal. I had no idea that normal was never coming back. As the weeks passed, the atmosphere in the house grew heavier. What started as small comments from Stephanie escalated into daily confrontations. Nothing I did was right. Nothing I said was welcome. One morning I woke up early and made pancakes for the children. It was something I used to do for Derek when he was young, and I thought Emma and Lucas might enjoy the surprise. I set the table with plates and syrup and butter, feeling a small sense of joy for the first time in weeks. Stephanie came downstairs in her bathrobe, saw the pancakes, and frowned. "I told you not to cook," she said. "The kids have a specific diet. Do you know how much sugar is in maple syrup?" "I'm sorry," I stammered. "I thought it would be a nice treat." "A treat?" She laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Gail, treats are for special occasions. This is just Tuesday." She threw the pancakes in the trash. All of them, right in front of Emma and Lucas, who stared with wide, confused eyes. "Come on, kids," Stephanie said. "I'll make you something healthy." I sat at the table alone, looking at the empty plates. Something inside me cracked that morning. A small fracture in the wall I had built around my heart. Derek was no better. He used to sit with me after dinner, asking about my day, telling me about his work. Now he avoided me. He came home late, ate quickly, and disappeared into the bedroom. When I tried to talk to him, he always had an excuse. "Not now, Mom. I'm exhausted." Can we talk later? I have emails to answer. I'm sure it's fine, Mom. Don't overthink it. Later never came. The emails were never finished, and I was always overthinking. My 63rd birthday arrived on a cold day in November. I did not expect a party. I did not expect presents. But I hoped for something. A card. A cake. A simple happy birthday. I spent the morning making a nice dinner. Roast chicken with vegetables, mashed potatoes, and gravy. Derek's favorite meal from childhood. I set the table with the good dishes I found in the cabinet. I even put out candles. Derek came home at 6. He walked past the dining room without looking and went straight to the bedroom. "Dinner's ready," I called out. "In a minute, Mom." An hour passed. The food grew cold. I sat at the table waiting. Finally, Derek emerged. He glanced at the spread and shrugged. "Oh, you made dinner. Stephanie texted that she's eating with coworkers tonight. She won't be home until late." "That's okay," I said, forcing a smile. "It's just you and me and the kids." We sat down. Emma and Lucas ate happily, unaware of the tension. Derek picked at his food, checking his phone every few minutes. I waited for him to say something. "Happy birthday, Mom. Thanks for cooking. Anything." He said nothing. After dinner, I cleared the table alone. I washed the dishes alone. I went to my room alone. As I sat on the edge of my bed, I realized something devastating. My own son had forgotten my birthday. The child I had raised, sacrificed for, and loved unconditionally, did not even remember the day I was born. I cried that night, quietly, so no one would hear. I cried until there were no tears left. The next day I called Dorothy. She was my oldest friend, the one person who had known me since high school. We had kept in touch over the years, even after she moved to Florida with her husband. She was the only person I could be completely honest with. "Tell me everything," Dorothy said when she answered. So I did. I told her about Stephanie's coldness, Derek's distance, the forgotten birthday, the growing sense that I was a stranger in a house I had helped purchase. Dorothy listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. "Gail," she said finally, "you need to remember who you are. You are not a burden. You are not a guest. You are a mother who gave everything for her child, and you deserve to be treated with respect." "I know," I whispered. "But what can I do? This is Derek's life, his family." "Is it though?" Dorothy's voice sharpened. "Gail, whose name is on the deed of that house?" I blinked. "Mine. But that was just because Derek's credit wasn't good enough. It's his house." "Legally, it's not. Legally, it's yours." Dorothy paused. "I'm not saying you should do anything drastic, but you need to know your worth, and you need to stop letting people treat you like you're disposable." After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Dorothy's words echoed in my mind. Whose name is on that deed? Mine. My name. My house. For the first time in months, something other than sadness stirred in my chest. It felt strange and unfamiliar. It took me a moment to recognize it. It was anger. The breaking point came on a Friday evening 3 weeks after my birthday. I was in the guest room reading a book I had borrowed from the library. The house was quiet. Derek was still at work. The children were at a play date. I thought Stephanie was in her office upstairs. Then I heard voices from the kitchen. Stephanie was on the phone speaking loudly enough that her words carried through the walls. "I can't take it anymore, Lisa," she said. "She's been here for 5 months. 5 months of her hovering around, touching my things, spoiling the kids. I told Derek we need to get rid of her." Get rid of her. Like I was a piece of old furniture. Like I was trash. "I don't care where she goes," Stephanie continued. "A nursing home, a shelter, I don't care. I just want her out of my house." My hands gripped the book so hard my knuckles turned white. I forced myself to keep listening. "Derek's being weak about it. You know how he is with his mother, but I told him it's either her or me. He needs to choose." The conversation ended. I heard Stephanie's footsteps going upstairs. I sat frozen, my heart pounding. She was forcing Derek to choose between his wife and his mother, and I already knew which one he would pick. That night I barely slept. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Stephanie's words over and over. Get rid of her. Either her or me. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. I made myself coffee and sat at the kitchen table watching the frost on the windows. I heard Derek's footsteps on the stairs. My stomach tightened. He appeared in the doorway still in his pajamas. He looked tired. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "Mom, can we talk?" he said. "Of course." He sat down across from me, not meeting my eyes. He folded his hands on the table, then unfolded them, then folded them again. "Mom, I don't know how to say this." "Just say it, Derek." He took a deep breath. "Stephanie's sister is moving to town next month. She got a job here and she needs a place to stay while she looks for an apartment." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What does that have to do with me?" Derek finally looked at me. His eyes were red like he had been crying, but his voice was steady, cold. "We don't have room for you anymore. You need to find another place to live." The words hit me like a physical blow. For a moment I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I just stared at my son, at this stranger who had replaced the boy I raised. "Derek," I said slowly, "this is your mother you're talking to. I changed your diapers. I held you when you cried. I worked 2 jobs for 30 years to give you a better life." "I know, Mom." His voice cracked slightly. "But Stephanie is my wife. This is our home. We need the space." "Your home." Something broke inside me. "Do you even remember who paid for this home, whose name is on the mortgage, whose savings bought these walls?" Derek's jaw tightened. "Mom, please. Don't make this harder than it already is." "Harder for whom, Derek? For you? For Stephanie?" I stood up, my legs shaking. "What about me? Where am I supposed to go?" He didn't answer. He just sat there staring at his hands. I waited for him to take it back, to say he was sorry, to say he didn't mean it. But the apology never came. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll leave today." I went to my room and packed my suitcase. It didn't take long. I had brought so little with me. A few clothes, some toiletries, the book from the library. Before I left, I went to find Emma and Lucas. They were in the playroom building a tower with blocks. "Grandma has to go away for a while," I told them, kneeling down despite the pain in my hip. "Why?" Emma asked, her eyes filling with worry. "Sometimes grown-ups need to take care of things," I said. "But I want you to know that I love you very much, and I will see you again soon." I hugged them both. Lucas gave me a wet kiss on the cheek. Emma clung to my neck and whispered, "I don't want you to go, Grandma." "I know, sweetheart, I know." I called a taxi from the front porch. Derek watched from the window but did not come outside. Stephanie was nowhere to be seen. When the taxi arrived, I loaded my suitcase into the trunk and climbed into the back seat. "Where to?" the driver asked. I gave him the address of a motel I had seen on the highway, cheap and clean according to the sign. As the taxi pulled away, I did not look back. I could not bear to see my house disappear in the rearview mirror. That night I sat alone in a motel room with thin walls and a mattress that sagged in the middle. The television was broken. The heater rattled. Through the window I could see the neon sign of the motel flickering red and blue. I had given everything to my son, my youth, my savings, my future. And in return, he had given me 6 words. "We don't have room for you." I cried until my throat was raw. I cried until I had nothing left. Then I fell asleep exhausted and empty. But when I woke up the next morning, something was different. I opened my eyes to pale sunlight filtering through the thin motel curtains. My body ached from the uncomfortable bed. My eyes were swollen from crying. I felt hollowed out like someone had scooped everything from inside me. I walked to the small bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. An old woman stared back at me. Gray hair, wrinkled skin, tired eyes. For a moment I did not recognize her. Then I spoke out loud. To myself, to the empty room, to the universe. Gail Thompson, you did not survive 30 years alone to be thrown out like garbage. You are better than this. My voice was hoarse, but the words felt true. For the first time in months, they felt true. I thought about Dorothy's question. Whose name is on that deed? I reached for my purse and pulled out my wallet. Inside, folded into a small square, was a photocopy of the property documents. I had kept it with me ever since the house was purchased, a habit from my years working at the law firm. I unfolded the paper and read the names printed there. Owner Gail Thompson. Mortgage holder Gail Thompson. Derek's name was nowhere on the document. We had always planned to transfer it once his credit improved. But that had never happened. Year after year he made excuses. Year after year I let it slide. The house was mine. Legally, completely, irrevocably mine. I sat on the edge of the bed, my mind racing. I had two choices. I could walk away, find a cheap apartment somewhere, and spend my remaining years pretending none of this had happened. Or I could fight. For 30 years I had put everyone else first. My husband, my son, my grandchildren. I had given and given and given until there was nothing left. Maybe it was time to take something back. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I had memorized decades ago. The law firm where I used to work, Patterson and Associates. A young woman answered. Patterson Law, how may I help you? My name is Gail Thompson, I said. I used to work for Richard Patterson many years ago. I'm wondering if someone there might be able to help me with a property matter. Mr. Patterson retired last year, the woman said, but his daughter Amanda has taken over the practice. Would you like me to connect you? Yes, please. A few minutes later, Amanda Patterson came on the line. Her voice was warm and professional. Mrs. Thompson, my father has mentioned you. He said you were one of the best secretaries he ever had. That's kind of him to say. What can I help you with? I took a deep breath and told her everything. The house, the money, the years of sacrifice, and my son's betrayal. Amanda listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. Mrs. Thompson, based on what you've told me, you have a very strong legal position. Your name is on the deed and the mortgage. Your son has no ownership claim. If you want to, you can evict him. Evict him, I repeated. The word felt strange on my tongue. Evicting my own son from the house I had bought for him. I want to be clear, Amanda continued. This will not be easy, emotionally or legally. There will be confrontation. There will be lawyers on both sides. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Derek's cold eyes, Stephanie's cruel words, the motel room I was sitting in, the 30 years I had spent putting everyone else first. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. Then let's get started. Over the next few days, Amanda and I met several times. She reviewed all my documents, the deed, the mortgage statements, the bank records showing the down payment came from my account. Everything was in order. Everything proved what I already knew. The house was mine. Amanda drafted an official notice. It stated that Derek and Stephanie had 30 days to vacate the property or face formal eviction proceedings. It also mentioned the possibility of seeking repayment for all the money I had invested in the house and the wedding. Before she sent it, Amanda asked me one more time. Are you sure about this, Mrs. Thompson? Once this letter goes out, there's no taking it back. I thought about all the nights I had worked double shifts, all the meals I had skipped, all the dreams I had postponed. I thought about the boy I had raised and the man he had become. Send it, I said. That evening I called Dorothy and told her what I had done. Good for you, she said, her voice fierce with approval. It's about time you stood up for yourself. You've been taking care of everyone else for so long you forgot to take care of yourself. I'm scared, I admitted. What if I'm making a mistake? Gail, listen to me. You gave that boy everything, and he threw you out like you were nothing. That's not love. That's not family. You deserve better. And if he can't see that, then it's time to teach him. After we hung up, I sat in silence. The motel room no longer felt so lonely. For the first time in months, I felt something other than sadness and fear. I felt strong. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Derek. "Mom, what is this?" His voice was high panicked. "A lawyer sent us an eviction notice. What's going on?" I kept my voice calm. "You said you don't have room for me, Derek, so I'm taking my room back." "What are you talking about? You can't do this. This is my house." "Is it? Check the deed. Check whose name is on it." There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing heavily. Then his voice smaller. "Mom, this is crazy. You can't just kick us out." "Actually, I can. And unless you want to fight this in court, I suggest you start looking for a new place to live." I hung up before he could respond. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it was Stephanie. Her voice was a screech of fury. "You crazy old woman," she spat. "How dare you? After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. Everything you've done for me." I almost laughed. "What exactly have you done for me, Stephanie, besides treating me like a servant and convincing my son to throw me out?" "You can't evict us. We'll sue you. We'll take you to court." "Go ahead," I said. "My lawyer is ready. I suggest you find one too." She screamed something else, but I ended the call. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From something else. From power. 2 days later, Derek showed up at the motel. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes, the look of a man who hadn't slept in days. I met him in the parking lot. I didn't invite him inside. "Mom, please," he said. "We need to talk about this. Can't we work something out?" "I'm listening." "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Stephanie, she pressured me. She said if I didn't ask you to leave, I don't know. I was stupid. I was weak." I looked at my son. This man who I had carried in my arms, who I had read bedtime stories to, who I had sacrificed everything for. "You're right," I said. "You were weak, and stupid, and cruel. You let your wife treat your mother like garbage, and you didn't say a word. You forgot my birthday. You forgot everything I did for you." "I know, Mom. I know." Tears streamed down his face. "Please just give us more time. We'll figure something out. I'll talk to Stephanie." "Talk to Stephanie." I shook my head. "Derek, you're 40 years old. When are you going to stop letting other people make your decisions? When are you going to be a man?" He had no answer. 30 days, I said. "That's what the notice says. 30 days to find a new place. I'm not extending it, and I'm not changing my mind." "Mom, please." "Go home, Derek. Go home and explain to your wife that actions have consequences." He stood there for a moment crying. Then he turned and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away. I did not feel guilty. I did not feel sad. I felt something I had not felt in a very long time. I felt free. A week later, Amanda arranged a meeting. Derek, Stephanie, and their lawyer on one side, me and Amanda on the other. The meeting took place in a conference room at Amanda's office. Stephanie glared at me the entire time. Derek couldn't meet my eyes. Their lawyer, a young man who looked barely out of law school, shuffled papers nervously. "Let's begin," Amanda said. "As you know, Mrs. Thompson is the sole legal owner of the property at 742 Maple Drive. She purchased the home with her own funds, her name is on the deed, and she is responsible for the mortgage. Mr. and Mrs. Derek Thompson have been occupying the property without any legal ownership claim." Their lawyer cleared his throat. "We dispute the characterization that—" Amanda raised a hand. "With all due respect, there's nothing to dispute. I have the deed, the mortgage documents, and the bank records. The law is clear. Mrs. Thompson has every right to reclaim her property." The room was silent. Stephanie's face had gone pale. Derek stared at the table. "My client is prepared to offer a reasonable timeline," Amanda continued. 60 days to vacate instead of 30. In exchange, Mrs. Thompson will not pursue repayment of the funds she provided for the down payment and wedding expenses. "That's not fair," Stephanie burst out. "We've been paying the mortgage for years. We've maintained the property. You've been paying rent," Amanda interrupted, "to the actual owner, which is Mrs. Thompson. Anything you've paid goes toward the mortgage she is legally responsible for. You have no equity claim." Stephanie looked at her lawyer, who shrugged helplessly. There was nothing he could do. "I suggest you accept the offer," Amanda said, "unless you'd prefer to proceed to court where Mrs. Thompson will seek full repayment of all funds plus legal fees." Derek finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, please. Think about Emma and Lucas. They love this house. They love you." My heart clenched at the mention of my grandchildren, but I did not waver. "I am thinking about them," I said. "I'm thinking about the kind of lesson they're learning in a home where grandparents are disposable. I'm thinking about what kind of people they'll become if they see their parents treat family this way." I looked directly at my son. "I love Emma and Lucas more than anything, and that's exactly why I'm doing this, because they need to see that respect matters, that love is not something you throw away when it becomes inconvenient." Derek lowered his head. Stephanie was trembling with rage, but she said nothing. "We accept the terms," their lawyer said quietly. Amanda nodded. "I'll have the paperwork drawn up by tomorrow." Before we left, I added one more condition. "I want to see my grandchildren," I said. "Every other weekend and one evening each week. No excuses, no cancellations. If you try to keep them from me, I will see you in court." Stephanie opened her mouth to protest, but Derek put his hand on her arm. "Fine," he said. "You can see them." I stood up and gathered my things. At the door, I turned back to look at my son one last time. "I loved you more than anything in this world, Derek. I would have done anything for you. But I will not let you destroy me. And I will not teach your children that a mother's love means endless sacrifice without respect." I walked out of the room without looking back. The next 2 months were difficult. Derek and Stephanie moved out of the house, taking furniture and bitterness with them. They found an apartment on the other side of town, smaller and cheaper than they were used to. I moved into my house, the house I had paid for, the house that was finally mine. The first night I walked through empty rooms, listening to my footsteps echo off the walls. It felt strange and lonely. For a moment I wondered if I had made a mistake. Then I opened the back door and stepped into the garden. The moon was full, casting silver light across the overgrown grass. I breathed in the cold night air and felt something shift inside me. This was my home, my space, my life. I started making changes, small ones at first. I painted the walls warm colors, honey yellow in the kitchen, soft green in the bedroom. I planted flowers in the backyard, tulips and daffodils and roses. I bought a comfortable armchair and placed it by the window where the morning sun came in. For the first time in decades, I was decorating a space for myself. Not for a husband, not for a son. For me. I also started rebuilding my life beyond the house. I joined a book club at the local library. Every Thursday evening, a group of us gathered to discuss novels and drink tea and share stories. I made friends, real friends, women my age who understood what it meant to rebuild after loss. I volunteered at the children's hospital twice a week. I read stories to sick kids, played games with them, held their hands when they were scared. It reminded me of why I had sacrificed so much in the first place to help others, to make a difference. And I stayed in touch with Dorothy. She came to visit that summer, and we spent a week together laughing and crying and remembering the girls we used to be. She told me she was proud of me. I told her I couldn't have done it without her. The relationship with Derek was complicated. At first there was only silence. He didn't call, didn't text, didn't reach out at all. Part of me ached for reconciliation, but a larger part of me knew that healing couldn't happen until he understood what he had done. 3 months after they moved out, Derek called. His voice was different, quieter, humbler. "Mom, can we talk?" "I'm listening." "Stephanie and we're having problems. She blames me for losing the house. She says I should have stood up to you. I tried to tell her that I was wrong, that I should have stood up to her instead, but what, Derek? I don't know who I am anymore, Mom. I don't know what I want. I spent so long trying to make everyone happy that I forgot to figure out what makes me happy." For the first time in a long while, I heard my son, the real Derek, the boy I had raised, not the man Stephanie had shaped him into. "Derek," I said gently, That's something you need to figure out for yourself. I can't tell you who you are, but I can tell you this: you're capable of being better. You just have to choose it. We talked for an hour that night. It wasn't a complete reconciliation, but it was a start, a crack in the wall between us. Over the next several months, the cracks widened. Derek started visiting first awkwardly, then more naturally. He apologized again and again, not seeking forgiveness, but simply acknowledging his mistakes. I appreciated that. It showed growth. Emma and Lucas came every other weekend just as we had agreed. Those were my favorite days. We baked cookies, planted seeds in the garden, painted pictures, and told stories. They filled the house with laughter and light. "Grandma, why did Daddy move away?" Emma asked one Saturday. I chose my words carefully. Sometimes families go through changes. It doesn't mean anyone loves you less. It just means things are different for a while. "I like coming here," she said. "Your house feels happy." My house. Happy. Those words meant more to me than I could express. A year after everything fell apart, Derek called with news. He and Stephanie were getting divorced. She had already moved out of state, chasing a job opportunity. She had barely said goodbye to the children. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. Not for the divorce itself, but for the pain it caused. "I'm not," Derek replied. "I should have seen it years ago, Mom. She never loved me. She loved what I could give her, and when I couldn't give any more, she left. What will you do now?" "I found an apartment near you, close enough that Emma and Lucas can walk to your house. I want them to spend more time with you. I want to spend more time with you too, if you'll let me." "Of course I'll let you. You're my son Derek. That never changed." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on you." I wiped my eyes. That's what mothers do. 2 years have passed since that terrible morning when Derek told me there was no room for me. I am 65 now, and my life looks nothing like it did back then. It is better, fuller, more mine. I still live in the house on Maple Drive. The garden has bloomed into something beautiful, a riot of colors every spring and summer. Emma helps me tend the flowers. Lucas chases butterflies between the rows. Derek and I have rebuilt our relationship slowly and carefully. He comes over for dinner every Sunday. We talk, really talk about things that matter. He tells me about his work, his hopes, his regrets. I tell him stories from my past memories I had buried for years. He has changed. The man who sits at my table now is not the man who threw me out. He is humbler, kinder, more aware of what truly matters. The divorce forced him to examine his life, and what he found wasn't pretty. But he's working on it. Every day, he's working on it. Emma is 9 now, sharp and curious and full of questions. She wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. Lucas is 6, still a ball of energy, now channeling it into soccer and swimming. They call my house Grandma's Magic Garden, and they beg to visit as often as possible. Sometimes on quiet evenings, I sit on my porch and watch the sun set behind the trees. I think about all the years I spent sacrificing, giving, depleting myself for others. I don't regret those years, not exactly. They made me who I am. But I wish I had learned sooner that taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. I think about Stephanie sometimes, too. I heard through Derek that she remarried some businessman from Seattle. I hope she finds whatever she's looking for. I don't hate her anymore. Hate is too heavy to carry. I think about Harold, my husband, who died so young. I wonder what he would say if he could see me now. I like to think he'd be proud. Proud that I survived. Proud that I raised our son even when it was hard. Proud that I finally learned to stand up for myself. There's a quote I read somewhere, I don't remember where. It said, "The only person you're destined to become is the person you decide to be." For most of my life, I decided to be whatever everyone else needed. A wife, a mother, a provider, a sacrifice. Now I've decided to be something else. Myself. If you're listening to this story and you recognize yourself in it, I want you to hear me. You are not a burden. You are not disposable. You are not defined by what you give to others. You are a person complete and whole, deserving of love and respect. Loving someone doesn't mean erasing yourself. It doesn't mean accepting cruelty with a smile. It doesn't mean staying silent when your heart is breaking. Real love, true love builds you up. It doesn't tear you down. I spent 30 years putting everyone else first. It took my son telling me I didn't belong in my own house for me to finally wake up. I wish it hadn't taken so long. But I'm grateful I woke up at all. The room they said they didn't have for me, I found it. It wasn't in that house. It was inside myself all along. A room I had locked away, filled with dreams I'd forgotten, hopes I'd abandoned, a version of myself I'd lost. Now that room is open, and it's full of light. I want to thank you for listening to my story today. It was not easy to share, but I believe it was worth it. If even one person hears this and decides to stop letting others diminish their worth, then everything I went through has meaning. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like there was no room for you? In your family, in a relationship, in your own life? What did you do about it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Let's support each other, because no one should feel alone. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss more stories like this one. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, the most important room you'll ever find is the one you make for yourself. Take care of yourselves, friends. You deserve it.